for a sadhaka who is studying on the path of Trika or even Tantra, any Tantra, not even Trika Tantra, even if it is Shakta Tantra or any sort of Tantra, Abhinavagupta is a what you say is a significant name and the foremost master whom we should revere always. So today I thought we will delve into some aspects of some Mahamaheshwara Abhinavagupta Acharya's philosophy, and I would like to begin it with the invocation to his mother and father, whom he himself calls as Shakti and Shiva. Abhinavagupta himself, in his writings, has mentioned his birth is of a what you say divine kind, and it was the result of a ritual that they committed, and they were actually welcoming this kid to the world. The whole family was actually waiting for this kid to come, so that he is called as the Yoginibhu. Yoginibhu means the one who took birth as the son of a yogini, and his father is none other than Shiva himself. So that a person who evolved his consciousness got evolved into the Shiva consciousness, and his mother was having a yogini consciousness. So that Abhinavagupta was a product of these two uh, divine parents. So I'm just starting the invocation, which he uses in Tantraloka and also in other major texts, where he reverently uh, invokes his mother and father. He starts with his mother's name, Vimalakala Abhinava Srishti Mahajanani, Bharita Tanuscha Panjamuga Gupta Ruchir Janaka, Tadubhaya Spurida Bhava Visargamayam, Hridayam Anuttaramrdakulam, Mama Samspurat. He's actually, uh, his mother's name was Vimala. He's calling her Vimalakala. Vimalakala means she's like Para. She's not, she's the unblemished one, like the moon during the autumn season, unblemished one. Hence, she is called as the Vimalakala, the Purnakala. And his father is equated to Panjamuga Shiva, that is Swachanda Bhairava. And the divine parents had an holy communion, part of that, and as a result of that, Abhinavagupta came to earth, and he calls it as Abhinava Srishti Mahajanani. Abhinava, Abhinava Srishti, this invocation prayer has two meanings. One is he is talking about his own birth. Other is he is talking about the birth of this whole universe. So this is a wonderful point where a tantric realizes Brahmanda and Pindanda are same. Macrocosm equal to microcosm. So by talking about his own birth, he is actually talking about the greatest secret of the universe. That's how he uses this term, this invocation prayer in his major works. Definitely, we can see the reference to his father and mother, parents, mother and father. Should mother comes first, mother and father. But more than that, a philosophical, what do you say, undertone is always there, even if he is talking about something about his personal life and all. That much a great scholar, philosopher he was. So I wanted to name this lecture as the Quintessential Abhinavagupta. So basically, we will go through his early life, his birth, his life, his major works, and also we will get into the contributions he has made uh, to the field of Indian aesthetics. So why it is needed is that whenever I ask anyone about Abhinavagupta who are doing, I mean, who are dancers, artists, performers like that, they all have heard about Abhinavagupta. But nobody realized or nobody heard that he was a tantric. So I wanted to uh, discuss on this matter, I mean on Abhinavagupta's Tantra and Abhinavagupta's aesthetic philosophy. How can we connect the aesthetics and Tantra? So this is the major uh, discussion point today. So sadly, we don't have time to discuss it further because 8 o'clock I have a Malayalam class. So before that, we'll complete it. Okay, so we will have a discussion later whenever it is possible. But you keep this things in your mind, and I can share this notes which I have made for this lecture, and you can read later and reflect on it. Okay, shall we start? Okay, thank you. The first question is why quintessential? That is an important question. I have named it, it is titled as Quintessential Abhinavagupta. So, in the history of Indian thought, it is a rare for a single mind to stand at the summit of two entirely different mountains. Abhinavagupta does exactly that. To the Tantric, he is a supreme synthesizer of Kashmir Shaivism's non-dualism or Kashmir Shaiva non-dualism. The author of Tantraloka, it is called as the light on Tantras. Definitely Tantraloka, Aloka means light, and it's the light on Tantras. But nobody knows that Abhinavagupta is a Tantric. So that we need light on Abhinavagupta now as a Tantric. So Tantraloka and Abhinavagupta Aloka is needed now. So Abhinavagupta has written this book, Tantraloka, and hence he is called as the and this text is called as the always considered as the magnum opus of Abhinavagupta. Still the most comprehensive treatise the tradition ever produced. To the student of poetics and drama, he is the greatest aesthetician India has known, the man whose Abhinavabharati remains the indispensable gateway to Bharata's Natyashastra, and whose theory of rasa became the settled view of the tradition for next 1,000 years. What makes him quintessential is that there are not two carriers but one vision. For Abhinavagupta, the thrill we feel before a great play and the bliss the yogi tastes in the depths of meditation are siblings. Both are the one consciousness savoring itself. So, this lecture traces the man and then this single unifying insight. Regarding the birth and his early life, I have mentioned about his birth being taking the birth as a Yoginibhu. We can further delve into that. Abhinavagupta was born in Kashmir, most probably between 950 and 960 of Common Era. His datable literary outputs runs roughly from 990 to 1015 of the Common Era. So his floret is conventionally placed at 975 and 1025 CE. His family was a distinguished line of learned people. An ancestor Atri Gupta, a celebrated scholar, had been invited from Andarvedi. Some says that it is near to Kanya the Ganga Yamuna Doab in the heartland of North India, to Kashmir by great Karkota Empire Lalitaditya Muktapida in 8th century. From this Gupta line Abhinava descended. His father Narasimhagupta, affectionately called as Chukulaka, himself a devout Shaiva and a learned grammarian who became Abhinava's very first teacher. Abhinava remembers him warmly as my excellent guru, not only as father but also as the excellent guru, my excellent guru. His mother was Vimalakala, as he mentioned, the unblemished one. She died while Abhinava was still a child, and he speaks of this loss as a turning point that loosened his hold on worldly life and turned him toward the spiritual coast. This is a wonderful thing. It's not a wonderful thing. His mother dying is not a wonderful thing, but the thing happened to him was actually wonderful. Because of the loss, he kind of lost interest in the mundane things and he got really interested in the Shaiva philosophy, and he devoted his life to Shiva Sevarta, his life to the service of Shiva. So it is said that if mother is lost to a child, later the main female influence he can have in his life will be his wife. mostly. But Abhinava did not marry. But it is said that Bhakti came as his lover. So this is a very aesthetic way of putting the ascetic nature of Abhinavagupta. Bhakti came as the lover of Abhinavagupta. That's how he started having a deep affection towards Bhakti to Shiva. So Bhakti was his wife after his mother was lost. So that the only connection to the world was through Bhakti and aesthetics. So this is said like that. So, as I said, two details of self presentation are worth posing on. That is, Abhinavagupta himself writes about it. Yoginibhu, that is Yoginibhu, born of a yogini. In the Kaula understanding, a child conceived by parents absorbed in the bliss of their spiritual union is uniquely gifted, a Yoginibhu. Abhinava regarded himself as such a soul. The very first verse of Tantraloka is the double entendre. It names the mother Vimala and his father Narasimhagupta and simultaneously the goddess and Shiva, presenting his own heart as the emission Visarga, born of their Yamala, born of their couple union, that is Yamala. The name itself, Abhinavagupta, was, he tell us, an honorific bestowed by his teachers. Abhinava means ever new, ever fresh, ever vigilant, like that. And Gupta means the mysterious one, secret. So it is said that some says that Abhinavagupta was in fact uh, the incarnation of Adishesha himself. So there is and I mean, maybe it's a coincidence. This is Nirjala Ekadashi. Today is Nirjala Ekadashi. So on this day, he took birth. So it is believed, widely believed, that Abhinavagupta was an incarnation of Adishesha. So Gupta is always connected to the serpent of the abyssal waters, the Ahirbudaniya Samhita, which we discussed earlier, a Vaishnavite text, and also Veda also talks about such, uh, mysterious snake can be called as Kundalini or uh, Shesha himself. So Gupta is actually denoting to Shesha. So some says that Abhinava Gupta, as the masters of him understood that he is the incarnation of Shesha. So it is believed that the knowledge comes from the Nagaloka. So there is a belief like that. So as Patanjali, Abhinavagupta is also considered as the incarnation of Adishesha. So that the Gupta term has got a very important significance. In Abhinavagupta, Abhinava means ever fresh, ever new, like that, and Gupta is the secret one. So Abhinava, by this we can actually implicitly we can see that I don't know whether there is some explicit mention on this, but implicitly we can think that there was a belief like this when Abhinavagupta was born. This is a portrait of a prodigy, grief touched, intensely devotional, and from childhood immersed in a household of learning. So, as I said, his life was actually a life which was kind of stricken with grief, but he actually transformed or translated or kind of what you say, that's an act of an alchemy. He actually translated his grief into bhakti, so that he was a person of that caliber, even when he was very small. Let's look at the Guru Parambara of Abhinavagupta. As we said, Narasimhagupta himself was his first guru. He calls him as his excellent master. Abhinava was a deliberate polymath who sought out the finest teacher available in each field rather than confining himself to a single school. His own works record an extraordinary roster of masters. So he learned Vyakarana as a foundation from his father itself, Narasimhagupta. He learned the theory of poetic suggestion of the Ananda Vardhana lineage from Bhatta Induraja, generally called as Bhattenduraja. And from Bhatta Toda, he learned Natyashastra tradition. And from Bhatta Tota, he learned Natyashastra tradition. Bhatta Tota has written a mm, a book on Natyashastra called as Kavya Kautuka. Abhinavagupta himself has written an exposition on that. I think that book is available, but the principal work is lost in the present times. So that Bhatta Tota was the person who taught him the Natyashastra. Budhiraja, from Budhiraja, he learned the Shaiva Siddhanta of the dualistic stream, Shaiva Siddhanta, and Pratyabhijna school, which Abhinavagupta was very much fond of. He learned it from Lakshmanagupta, and that is a non-dual philosophy of self-recognition, and from Shambhunatha, the living heart of Triga, that is Kaula, which actually Abhinavagupta recognized the heart of Trika is Kaula. Hence, he calls it as the Trika Kaulam, Kaula Trikam. He learned it from Shambhunatha. We'll talk about Shambhunatha today. Somananda, Utpala, Lakshmanagupta, Abhinavagupta. That is the lineage from the author of Shivadrishti, Somananda, the author of Stotravali, Utpala Deva, and Lakshmanagupta and Abhinavagupta. That's how the recognition school, that is the Pratibhijna school of thought, he kind of got into that. The teaching that bondage is simply the failure to recognize that one's own self is universal consciousness, Shiva, and that liberation is nothing other uh, than than that of the recognition, Pratibhijna flashing into certainty. But the philosophy needed a living transmission of Trika's most esoteric experiential core, and for that, Abhinava turned to one teacher above all others. So this is a very important thing. If you look at the streams of knowledge in Kashmir Shaivism, we can see Agama, Spanda, Krama, Kula, and Pratyabhijna. Definitely, Pratyabhijna should be considered as the apex of the philosophical thought. We cannot find anything more than that. It's all about recognizing yourself. And Krama is a sequential way to recognize that. And Kula is the embodiment of the sequence. And Abhinava was the first person who recognized this synthesis, or he was the synthesizer of this. He was a master synthesizer. He was the one who kind of brought Kula, Krama, Pratyabhijna, Agama, everything together. And he was the one who actually gave us the wonderful understanding of the Anuttara Trikakaulam. Definitely, he got this idea from his master, his beloved master, that is Shambhunatha. So let's read about Shambhunatha. Shambhunatha, he himself says that he is equated with the sun that opened the lotus. Of all his guru, Abhinavagupta reserves his deepest reverence for Shambhunatha, the master of of the Kaula Trika, who came from the Jalandhara Pidha. It was Shambhunatha himself, a disciple of Sumatinatha, who transmitted to Abhinava the secret experiential essence of the tradition that Tantraloka then unfolds. Abhinava is explicit and Abhinava is explicit that his work is the flowering of Shambhunatha's instruction. He says, so in one of the most beloved verses in all of Kashmir Shaivism, placed deliberately at the threshold of Tantraloka and repeated to open the Tantrasara. And he writes about his master, Sri Shambhunatha Bhaskara Charananipada Prabhavagata Sangojam Abhinavagupta Hridambujam Edat Vichinuta Mahesha Pujana Hetu, which means this lotus, that is the heart of Abhinavagupta. He equates his heart as a lotus. So this lotus, that is the heart of Abhinavagupta, whose every contraction has been banished by the light falling from the rays, feet of the sun, that is Sri Shambhunatha, and his consort Bhagavati, contemplate it for the sake of the worship of the great Lord. So it is said that a lotus contracts and it opens, right? When in the night it contracts, it gets sankocha, and vikasa happens in the morning. It expands in the morning when the sunlight enters. What makes it close? What makes it sankocha? It is the absence of sunlight. So the real sun, which we see on the sky, actually goes into and it disappears. There is an absence of light. But my guru, who is my son, is always present, so that he is not disappearing. So Guru's padam, Guru's feet is always there, ever shining. That's why it banished all the sangoja of the lotus. Such a poetic brilliance. So it is making the lotus always, yeah, what do you say, always open with joy. It is not closing at all because there is no absence of sun at all. That is the reverence he gave to his Guru Paduka. That's why Shambhunatha is the one who actually helped him to understand the Kaulam. And he himself has written about that. He tells us that with Shambhunatha only, I understood what is the actual meaning of the ritual and practice. Shambhunatha was the one who made me understand the real meaning of practice. So Shambhunatha and his wife, consort, Bhagavati, both are like Shiva and Shakti to him. This image is exact and deliberate. A lotus is closed in the dark. The rising sun makes it bloom. Shambhunatha is that sun. His teaching is light. Here, he is not talking about, he is not equating him to the real sun, but he is equating to a sun which is ever present. There is no sun we can see like that. Even the real sun goes into dark and make the whole world dark. But the Guru's feet will not make you uh, suffer darkness anymore. Ajnana will be removed forever if you get into the feet of Guru. So the relationship, this relationship also explains what kind of the book Tantraloka. He actually talks about Tantraloka. His teaching is the light and open the lotus in Abhinava's awakened heart, which is the Tantraloka. To read the book attentively, Abhinava says itself an act of worship of Shiva. The cordiality here is not mere etiquette. It is the gratitude of a disciple who knows that what was latent in him was brought to full flower by his teacher's grace. This relationship also explains what kind of book the Tantraloka is. Kaulatrika filtered through the grace of one realized master, not through dry scholasticism. So that's a very important thing. Kaulatrika filtered through the grace of one realized master, not dry scholasticism. Let's look into the major works of Abhinavagupta. Definitely, we have to start with Tantraloka. There are two kinds of work, not only two kinds of work. Some of the works are lost, and some kind of. 2 days back, I was listening to a talk by Navjeevan Rastogi ji. He was actually mentioning about Abhinavagupta's proficiency in Prakrit language. Uh, I never heard about it. So he said that Abhinavagupta wrote works in Prakrit language, which is completely lost now. So we only got some Sanskrit text. Thankfully, Tantraloka is preserved. And we should be proud. Malayalis should be proud. Keralites should be proud about that because we preserved it. Kerala preserved Tantraloka in Malayalam script. And it was transliterated into Sanskrit later. Think of I don't know what kind of intellectual exchange happened during that time. Why did we do that? I don't know. But somehow it is preserved. And later it got translated. So when we talk about Abhinavagupta, definitely whoever talks about Abhinavagupta, they should always talk about Kerala preserving Abhinavagupta's Tantraloka. That's a very important thing. So Tantraloka is a very important text, and we can divide his work into tantric philosophical and aesthetic and literary works. Tantraloka is the magnum opus of Abhinavagupta, and he has written a beautiful commentary on that. Not a commentary, it's a kind of a flowing prose digest. I've written it as a flowing prose digest of Tantraloka. He says, because the vast Tantraloka cannot be entered by everyone. So that he wrote a Tantrasara, as a flowing prose commentary. And he was even more gracious and even more generous. He wanted to write Tandravadhanika, an even briefer epitome of Tantraloka. So he wrote a commentary, not a commentary, a digest. And to digest this digest, he wrote another book. So three books were written to make us understand Tantraloka. And if you ask me which is the toughest book, I'll definitely say the briefer one is the more toughest one. It is very difficult to understand the briefer one. Then Tantrasara is the toughest one. Then Tantraloka is the toughest one. So Tantraloka is far easier than understanding Tantrasara. That's my experience. Because everything, he abridged everything. He made it concise, everything. So that if you don't have a know-how of about the system of the tradition, you will get lost. So to read Tantrasara is like reading Tantraloka together. So we are having a Tantrasara a reading class these days. So, so while teaching Tantrasara, I always go back to Tantraloka. So it's almost like a Tantraloka class now. Then Malini Vijayavartika, a book which is supposed to be the heart of Triga. Malini Vijayottara Tantra. He wrote a commentary on that. Malini Vijayavartika, a verse glows expanding the opening of the Malini Vijayottara Tantra. That was his root scripture called as the Purva Shastra. Paratrimsika Vivarana, and a shorter Legu Vritti of that, his profound commentary on Paratrimsika on the supreme Anuttara Trikam. Paratrimsika Vivarana becomes a very important text when we think about and discuss about the Anuttara Trika Kaula redaction of the system. So Anuttara Trika Kaula redaction is of Abhinavagupta, a unique contribution of Abhinavagupta, if you look at it. So that Paratrimsika Vivarana becomes a very important text of that. Ishvara Pratyabhijna Vimarshini and the longer Ishvara Pratyabhijna Vivritti Vimarshini, the two commentaries on Utpaladeva's recognition verses and the core text of Pratyabhijna philosophies. Paramarthasara, Bodha Panchadashika, Anuttarashtika, and several stotras like Bhairava Stotra, Krama Stotra, Dehastha Devata Chakra Stotra. These all are the some small. Last, I think in Abhinavagupta, we only conducted a class. I think Sachin took a class on Shiva Shaktya Abhinava Stotram, right? So such beautiful stotras, beautiful devotional pieces were written by him. Then aesthetic and literary works. Abhinavabharati. It's a very important work. His commentary on Bharata's Natyashastra, the oldest surviving commentary on it, and the foundational text for his Rasa theory. And Dhunyaloka Lochana. Lochana means eye. To see Dhunyaloka. Like Arjuna, Krishna gives a divine eye, the Dami, Divya Chakshu, a divine eye is given to see the Vishwarupa. To see Anandavardhana's corpus of knowledge or understanding about Dhuni, he gave us a eye. It's called as the Dunya Loka Lochana, was written by Abhinavagupta. And Kavya Kautuka Vivarana, which I already talked about. Bhatta Tota's Kavya Kautuka's commentary. Yeah, this commentary is lost. I thought that the other one, this commentary is lost. This commentary is not available. And Ghadagarpara Kulaka Vritti, a minor literary commentary. These all are the literary and works on aesthetics. And we have to focus on Tantraloka, as Tantraloka is the magnum opus of Abhinavagupta. And what is Tantraloka? Tantraloka literally means the light on Tantra. That's why Aloka means light. It's an encyclopedic exposition of Anuttara Trika system, the non-dual Shaivism in its highest Kaula form, across 37 chapters called as ahnika. Ahnika means the text or the chapter or the portion which we can read and complete in one day. That is ahnika. So there are 37 ahnikas and roughly 5,800 verses with the indispensable 13th century commentary of Jayarada called as Viveka. Markji's Tantraloka is in fact a commentary on Viveka also. So Viveka, Jayarata's Viveka. It ranges over metaphysics, the structure of reality, which we learned through tattvas, 36 tattvas, the means to liberation, upayas, ritual, the kriya, initiation, diksha, mantra, chakras, sacred cosmology, and yoga. A lot of things. That this is I know many of you are good scholars in Tantraloka. I'm just talking it for the people who are listening it for the first time. Okay. Its sources and its claim. Abhinava does not present the work as personal invention. He grounds it in scripture and in his guru's instruction. And he makes a striking claim about its source text. Na tadastiha yenna malini vijayottare. He says that there is nothing in this work that has not been declared by the gods of God, Shiva, in the Malini Vijayottara, either explicitly or by implication. So he's telling that this text is nothing but an exposition of Malini Vijayottara Tantra. The whole set of books, the whole volumes of Tantraloka is dedicated to Malini Vijayottara Tantra. So I'm not writing anything new, but I'm depending on Malini Vijayottara Tantra. Markji once shared a wonderful observation on this. We were discussing this thing, and he told me that although Abhinavagupta talks about his total dependence and reliance on Malini Vijayottara Tantra, but if you go through Tantraloka, you can see he's actually mentioning and referring back to lot of tantric texts which are now lost. Although he's actually mentioning Malini Vijayottara Tantra is the principal text based on that, I've written this book. So there are a lot of texts on from which he draws the paddhadis, Diksha Paddhati, lot of things. So it's not as I always used to say, that it's actually a light on Tantras. With this light, we can see the whole corpus of Tantra. It's like a torch lamp Abhinavagupta gave us. You go into the vast forest of this tantras, and you can see which tantra is where and what tantra is talking what. So this is like a what you say, eye opener kind of thing to all of us. Okay. So he says that the Lord's teaching is divided into 10. 10, you remember, 10 is the Rudra Tantras, 18 is the 10 is the Shiva Tantras, and 18 is the Rudra Tantras, and 64 is the Bhairava Agamas. So Shaivagama, Rudragama, and Bhairava The essence of all that is the Trika doctrine. The essence of the Trika is Malini. That is the Malini Vichyotra. And the essence of that is Tantraloka. So the essence of three streams of knowledge, the non-dual, dualistic, and monodualistic. Bheda, Abheda, Bheda, Bheda. Shaiva, Raudra, Bhairava. These three, the essence of all these three can be seen in the Trikadarshana. And the essence of Trikadarshana can be seen in Malini Vijayottara. And the essence of Malini Vijayottara Tantra can be seen in Tantraloka. And the essence of Tantraloka can be seen in the Tantrasara. And the essence of Tantrasara can be seen in the brief epitome, which I have written. Ahnikas, like that. It is its structural idea. He talks about the upayas. The most influential organizing principle of Tantraloka is its graded scheme of means, upaya, to liberation. A ladder calibrated the seeker's capacity to the seeker's capacity. So he talks about the Chaturupaya, and the fourth one is definitely not an upaya. That is Anupaya, the pathless path. So there is no path. So we'll start with the lower means to liberation, that is Anavopaya. Anavopaya is the individual means through action, Kriya. Hence it is also called as Kriyopaya. Through breath, mantra recitation mantra recitation, ritual, and contemplation. We can do Anavopaya. We have discussed Anavopaya in detail earlier. So Anavopaya is called as the Kriyopaya. We are depending on some upati, on some object which is outside our body, or we are using our own body for the means for practicing dharana, and that becomes the means to liberation, Anavopaya. And next is the Shaktopaya. Shaktopaya means the empowered means. It actually, if Anavopaya is based on body, Shaktopaya is based on mind. So, liberation through will, Icha, and the spontaneous, Jnana. Liberation through Jnana, purifying thought, Vikalpa Samskara. So, it is called as the Jnanopaya. If you are meditating on something without looking at it, just in your mental image, that becomes Shaktopaya. If you're looking at an object and meditating on that, that becomes Anavopaya. Just giving a small example. Shambhuvopaya, the highest means. The highest of all the three means is Shambhuvopaya. Some says that it is Anavopaya. No, because Anavopaya is actually a no means. How can a no means can be considered as a means? Abhinava himself asked this question. So Shambhuvopaya is the highest means among the three means. And Anupaya is not a means. It's not, there are no means, but the rejection of means. The yogi is not relying on any means. It is let it be. It is a state of be. And the state of be, and we have the state of being. The lowest level of being is Anavopaya. The intermediate level is Shaktopaya. And the highest level of being is Shambhovopaya. And Anupaya is let it be. So the be and being. We can see be and being. And where are we? We are becoming. So becoming, being, and be. These are the three categories if we look at it. Okay. So Shambhovaya, the divine, means liberation through will, Icha, and the spontaneous flash of awareness. As I said, Anupaya, the non means instantaneous recognition for the most ready soul, nothing to do, only to be. There is nothing to do. There is no sadhana, no puja, no rituals, no mantra, nothing. To be. I am Shiva. That's it. He realized that he is Shiva. Okay. The genius is that lower means are not rejected. They are honored as paths that leads to the same summit, each suited to a different temperament. This is the spirit of Abhinava's whole project, an inclusive ascending vision in which everything has its place. So Anavabhaya, although it is called as the lower means, it is not rejected, but it is equally considered great with Shambhavopaya. So whoever practicing Anavopaya are not to be considered as a follower of the lower means. He or she is also equally meritorious as the one who is following Shambhavopaya. It's on basically based on the temperament. So that actually shows the inclusiveness of Abhinava's path. So that is the definitely Tantra is quite inclusive, and he kind of imbibed that from Tantra. This is a central theme of this lecture, that is contribution to Indian aesthetics, the theory of rasa, Abhinava's theory of rasa. The problem Abhinava inherited. Bharata's Natyashastra had condensed the whole science of dramatic emotion. I don't know whether we should translate it as dramatic emotion, but there are no other words, so that we are putting it as dramatic emotion for rasa. I'm taking an anticipatory bail. I'm taking this for the English language because it cannot translate some of the expressions used in Sanskrit, so that rasa should be translated as rasa only. But to understand, we are using dramatic emotion or all these things. So science of dramatic emotion into one cryptic aphorism. It's called as the Rasa Sutra. So what is the Rasa Sutra? So in Rasa Sutra, he talks about Vibhavanubhava Vibhichari Samyogad Rasa Nishpatti. How is Rasa? How does Rasa come out? Vibhava, Anubhava, Vibhichari Bhava. If they blend together in such a way, rasa comes out. I don't know if my translation is right, but still. So what are the vibhavas? From the conjunction of vibhavas are determinants, the causes of emotion. Vibhava causes emotion. And what is anubhavas? Anubhava is the consequence. the outward expression of the emotion. So vibhava, anubhava. And what is vibhijari bhava? Vibhijari bhavas are the fleeting transient feelings. Rasa comes out. It's actually from one emotion to another emotion. There is a transient mode. So the vibhijari bhava from here to there. So with a correct what do you say blending of all these things rasa comes out. This is the Rasa Sutra. Everything turns on one word, Nishpatti, comes about. How does Rasa come about? Where does it reside? In the character, in the actor, or the spectator? Three great predecessors had answered before him. But Abhinavagupta vehemently criticized them. That's another, another thing. But still, let's see what are the opinion of the predecessors who actually talked about Rasa. So here, Bhatta who talks about the Utpattivada. He talks about the production of rasa. Rasa is literally produced by intensifying a permanent emotion. A permanent emotion. That is Thayi Bhava. So, like Rati is the Thayi Bhava of Sringara Rasa. So, he says that rasa is literally produced by intensifying the permanent emotion through the vibhavas. It resides principally in the depicted character and in the actor by superimposition. So he says that if we are, I'm not a scholar on aesthetics as Srividyaji introduced in in the beginning, but let me try to tell you. If we are going to act the role of Rama, Sri Rama, according to Bhatta Tota, he says that the principal emotion, the Sthai Bhava, is actually vested in Rama. Which Rama? The real Rama. And what I am doing? I am actually acting as Rama. So secondarily, I am having this emotion. So I am actually there is a superimposition of the emotion of Rama on me. So the actual emotion is actually vested with the actual character, and I am imitating him. So what am I? I am a duplicate. Okay, so that is the problem. So I am a duplicate acting on the stage. This makes art a duplicate of ordinary emotion. It becomes a duplicate. If there are artists in this class, can you call your art as a duplicate thing? Are you duplicating anything? Maybe you get inspired or you are imitating those whole things, but is it a duplicate? That's a very important question. Yeah. Sri Shankuka, he talks about Anumitivada. Anumiti means Anumana, inference. So the spectator infers the emotion in the actor who skillfully imitates the character. Rasa is an inferred imitation. Rasa is an inferred imitation. So that the problem there is inference is a cold, ordinary cognition. It cannot account for the delight of the art. So art is giving us a delight for the performer and for the spectator. But if you are inferring that, the idea of art itself is lost. So the delight is lost. So that there is a problem, which Abhinava actually talks about. Bhattanayaga, he actually talks about Bhuktivada. So that is his point is relishing. Art is not neither produced nor inferred, but art is relished. That is the point. That is Bhattanayaga's point. His was the decisive breakthrough. Rasa is neither produced or nor inferred, but relished. Bhukti Boga. He introduced two powers of the poetic word, Bhavagatva, the power of generalization, Sadharanikarana, by which the particular situation is universalized, and Bhojakatva, the power of enjoyment. Through universalization, Rama's grief ceases to be Rama's or mine. It becomes grief as such, and so can be savored. This relish, he said, resembles the bliss of tasting Brahman. That's the point of Bhattanayaka. Abhinava, in fact, agrees with Bhattanayaka in many of the ways. So it's like when you go to a theater drama, the actor, if the actor is showing grief, in fact, the grief of the actor is not a personal thing. We are also feeling grief. But are we really feeling the grief? That is the question. We are enjoying the grief if it is shown on a stage. Otherwise, it's not an easy experience. I heard that there is a wonderful movie playing in Malayalam named as Balan. I mean, Malayalis are kind of crazy about it these days. They are telling that this movie will make you cry. And people who warn them that this movie will make you cry, still people are going to the theater to cry. So is it like that we really want to cry, or are we actually relishing it? That's a very important thing. Even the actor, the performer is showing this sort of emotions. We are not actually feeling that kind of emotion as a personal grief, but we are relishing it. If it is actually triggering some of the emotions, we are actually enjoying that emotion. That's a very important. That's a breakthrough in the rasa theory. So Abhinavagupta principally agrees with him. Abhinavagupta but introduces another argument about rasa, about the production of rasa. He is not using the production of rasa. He's not calling it as means the Utpattivada. He's not in agreement with Utpattivada. He's not in agreement with Anumitivada, Anumana. But he's telling rasa is abhivektam. Rasa is actually manifested. Definitely it comes from his understanding on Tantra. Without tantric understanding, no one can speak like this. So his understanding about rasa is building on his teacher Bhatta Tota and absorbing Bhattanayaga's insight while pruning what he found redundant. Abhinava gives the answer the tradition would accept ever after. Rasa is neither produced nor inferred nor a separate act of enjoyment. It is manifested, revealed, abhivekta. Exactly as Anandavardhan's Dhuni reveals what is not literally said. So, what is Abhinavagupta's mechanism in hand to explain the rasa theory? He tells us that the sthayi bhava, say love or grief, already lies latent in the spectator as a deep impression vasana from the countless past experiences. The plays, vibhavas, anubhavas, and vibhijari bhavas awaken the latent emotion. Crucially, through sadharanikarana, universalization, the situation is stripped of its particular this person here now reference. The veil of individuality drops there. Like in sadhana, the veil of individuality drops there and we move to the Shivatva. What is then tasted is rasa, and tasting rasana, tasting is a state of repose of consciousness in itself, Vishranti, marked by chamatkara, aesthetic wonder, the blissful awe of relish. This experience is for Abhinava alaukika, extraordinary, of a different order from ordinary perception, memory, or inference. It is suffused with bliss, ananda, precisely because in the moment of obstacles, vignas, of practical self concern fall away and consciousness rests undisturbed on its own light. That is his point. So, see, look at the word rasa. If you ask a Gome, he'll definitely tell you that rasa means taste. So, there are six states, taste, right? But in aesthetics, we have got nine rasa. Eight from Bharata and ninth from the Udbhada school and also Abhinavagupta. He talks about the ninth one, the Shantarasa. So, but these two words have a striking similarity. Both are called as rasa. Taste is also called as rasa, and aesthetic experience is also called as rasa. So, what is the striking similarity between these? Rasa, the taste, is enjoyed by rasana. Rasana is tongue. Tongue is enjoying it, right? Six tastes are enjoyed by rasana. Hence, it is rasam. Shad rasam. Six rasas are there. Sweet to punch and to these all rasas. And who is enjoying the aesthetic experience? He's the Rasika. Rasika is enjoying. And rasa is enjoyed through a process called as charvana. Charvana is chewing. And Rasika enjoys rasa through chamatkara. You repeat this word chamatkara. It actually mimics the act of chewing. So that Abhinavagupta, in one way, not explicitly speaking, I don't know whether I haven't seen, this is, we can see we are actually cognitively chewing. It's a cognitive chewing of the experience. So we are relishing our own self, consciousness savoring its own self. Like the Kirtimuga ate everything and only the head was left. Shiva asked Kirtimuga, I'm so hungry. Kirtimuga told Shiva that I'm so hungry, I cannot find anything to eat. Then Shiva told him, you eat yourself. Then it started eating itself. And only hands and face was left. We place it on the sentinel as the sentinel guardian. If Rahu comes, it will eat. If Kedu comes, it will eat. If negativity comes, it will eat. Like that. As a good sign, we keep it. So consciousness is savoring itself. It's actually tasting itself, relishing on itself. That is what. So that's a very important thing. So ninth rasa, which is actually a contribution of Udbhada, and Abhinavagupta definitely spoke a lot on that. Apart from Bharata's Ashtarasa concept. So whenever someone talks about Navarasa, people generally tell that, oh, but it is from the Natyashastra of Bharata. No, it's not from the Natyashastra of Bharata, but it's from the exposition of Bharata's Natyashastra, which was beautifully written by Abhinavabharati and named as Abhinavabharati. So Abhinava also champions Shandarasa, the rasa of peace, as a ninth and in a sense foundational flavor. Its permanent emotion, Sthayi Bhava, is Shama. It is the Shama. It is the state of the soul. Shama, tranquility, or the knowledge of reality, Tattvajnana, and its destination is moksha, liberation. This is a momentous move, for it makes the sthayi of the highest rasa nothing other than natural, peaceful state of the self. With it, aesthetics and liberation are no longer neighbors. Bhattanayaga placed them as neighbors. His point is that aesthetics and liberation are no longer neighbors. They share a single root. And this is the bridge to the deepest layer of his thought and the heart of the matter. Rasa and Tantra as one vision. That is what we want to discuss today. Here is the quintessential Abhinavagupta. He did not theorize about beauty and separately about Shiva. His aesthetics is a pratyabhijna aesthetics, recognition aesthetics, which is missing in the, I don't know whether in art school. I have invited a person to attend this program, P.K. Sukumaran ji. He's a great film critic who in fact wrote a beautiful article on Aravinda's film. And he kind of tried to look at it from the Pratyabhijna lens. I think I discussed it in the class. So I don't know whether he is present here. So Pratyabhijna aesthetics. The experience of rasa is a real, if fleeting, taste of very consciousness the Tantra seeks to realize, wholly and permanently. The threads weave together like this. Reality is consciousness savoring itself. In Trika metaphysics, all that exists in one self-luminous consciousness, called as Samvit or Chit, which is Shiva, never inert but throbbing with spanda, vibration and vimarsha, self-reflective awareness. The world is its own free self-display, Swatantriya and Abhasa or Abhasa. This consciousness is by nature Chidananda, consciousness that is bliss. Consciousness that is bliss. That is it. Consciousness that shows bliss. No. Consciousness that is bliss. That is the thing. So if you are blissful, you are conscious. If you are conscious, you are blissful. That's it. Chamatkara is vimarsha. The wonder relish of rasa is in Abhinavagupta's analysis, the very same self-aware throb, vimarsha, by which consciousness states its own being. The aesthete at the height of rasa and the mystic in samavesha are doing the same thing, resting in blissful self-awareness of consciousness. This is why Abhinava can call aesthetic relish the sibling of the bliss of Brahman. Both are Vishranti, repose of the self in the self. Universalization mirrors the dissolution of limited ego. The Sadharanikarana that depersonalizes aesthetic emotion is a small rehearsal of the Tantric goal. Bondage in the system is Sankocha, the contraction of the boundless I into limited subject. Remember how Shambhunatha helped him to get out of it. So the depersonalized, it says the bondage in the system is Sankocha, the contraction of the boundless I into the limited subject. That is the work of Arnavamala. Liberation is the recognition of the limited I as universal full I, Purna Handa of Shiva, an expansion. In Rasa, the spectator's narrow ego is momentarily suspended. That's why we feel Vismaya. Our ego is momentarily suspended. The lotus, as it were, opens. Note that this is a very same image Sankocha banished. Abhinava used of his own awakening under Shambhunatha. The grammar of art and grammar of grace are one. That's the important thing. Even sorrow tastes of bliss. We discussed this, and that is the proof. Why is Karuna Rasa, the pathos of grief, enjoyable on the stage? When grief in life is agony, because the substrate being tasted is not the grief, but consciousness tasting itself. And consciousness is intrinsically blissful. The aesthetic transmutation of even painful emotion into delight is for Abhinava experiential evidence that the ground of all experience is Ananda. Art quietly demonstrates the central claim of Tantra. Art quietly demonstrates the central claim of Tantra. Pradibha, the poet's genius and the goddess power. The creative flash of the poet, Pradibha, is Intrika, a name for Paravak, the supreme creative word power, the goddess, the spontaneous self expression of consciousness. The artist's inspiration and the yogi's illumination draw from the same well. Shanta completes the circle. Because the foundational rasa is Shanta, whose sthai is the peaceful self, and whose horizon is moksha. The entire emotional spectrum of art is revealed so as so many colorings of of one tranquil consciousness. Every rasa is a tint of Shiva's rest. So the line some draw between Abhinava the Tantric and Abhinava the aesthetician dissolves. Aesthetic experience is a doorway onto liberation. Partially brief and not yet stabilized, but real. The connoisseur, that is Sahrdaya, and the adept, Sadhaka, are for a moment looking through the same window at the same light. This is what Abhinava's understanding about art and spirituality. Art is definitely spiritual. Spirituality is definitely an expression of art. So he combines the aesthetics and spirituality. Only one of his kind of a philosopher. That is the importance of Abhinavagupta. That's why I called him the quintessential Abhinavagupta. And the end of his life, conclusion of his life, I don't like to call it as the end of his life. It was actually the beginning of his life. So, history and legend, Abhinavagupta is traditionally believed to have departed around 1016 CE. Swami Lakshmanju Maharaj actually disagreed with that, this story. He told that after getting into the Bhairav Guha, he came back. I don't know. Swamiji used to tell this. Okay, whatever. A cherished, though undocumented legend holds that his life's work complete, he walked with a large company of disciples into the Bhairava cave at Birwa near Srinagar, chanting the Bhairava Stotra, and was not seen again. A fitting close in the tradition's imagination for one who taught that the individual self merges back, undiminished, into the boundless consciousness of Shiva. So his life is, merging into the Shivatva by disappearing into this thing. Everything was actually a lived experience of the philosophy. So on this beautiful day of Abhinavagupta Jayanti, let's all think about Abhinavagupta. It is said that if you utter the name of Abhinavagupta with respect, immediately Bhairava's grace will fall upon you. So he has elevated himself to the level of Bhairava, so that we are all blessed to discuss about him today. And I'm so thankful to you all people for giving me an opportunity to talk on Abhinavagupta, the greatest of the greatest philosopher India has ever produced. Thank you. Namaste.